Welcome to more games that I played in 2021. Another year is over and you guessed it, I played more games in 2021. I know it's with the Steam winter sale shining upon us, what better way to spend your winter holidays at home playing video games, right? Is there anything better than that? Vigil, The Longest Night. A 2D Metroidvania with Souls-like gameplay. It is above average difficulty, especially at the start of the game, but quickly becomes easier and easier. You have many potions with you and you can spam them without any cooldown, so there is not much of a threat later, as long as you have time to heal. Because of how the game plays out over the course of 10 hours, I can't fully recommend this game if you're into Metroidvanias, as this game is barely a Metroidvania. It is 90% Souls-like, and then just here have a upgrade, you know, double jump or whatever the heck, or like slide, I think. It's like, okay, yeah, it has some Metroidvania elements, you know, like sprinkled into it, but that doesn't make it a Metroidvania in my eye. And why do I think it's a Metroidvania? Well, it's on Steam. It has the tag Metroidvania. Technically, sure, but you know how much percentage it is actual Metroidvania? It ain't much. Well, I think so, you know, and I objectively know how to speak English, clearly. It is clearly a 2D Souls-like, so if you're into that, then feel free to grab it. I would still recommend Salt and Sanctuary over Vigil, and the newly released game called Grime seems even better. Grime was actually mentioned by Iron Pineapple, which is, you know, a small YouTuber with how many subscribers? 868,000 subscribers. You know, it's just a small number of subscribers, but I'm pretty sure he knows his stuff because he has a series, Steam Dumpster Diving, looks at Souls-like, you know, every couple months. And yeah, he says it's a really good game, and he played through it apparently in like 10 hours or so, so I trust his judgment. Devil May Cry 5. You know Devil May Cry probably already. I don't need to explain what Devil May Cry is, you know, it's just a very popular game, Capcom, and this time you have multiple characters and you go whack at people, you know, just the usual, right? So it is very anime in terms of presentation as well as story and cutscenes. And even the writing and the jokes and the delivery of like the English voice acting is actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. Sadly, now we get to the actual gameplay, and that is very combo focused. It's a combo focused fighting system, and that's just not for me, because you have to do them properly, and if you don't time them properly, of course, you know, you're lacking in damage, so you're constantly struggling in every single fight. And also, if you're like me, that doesn't really like doing combos, so you kind of spam the same things or the same 2-3 things over and over, right? So the simplest combos, you could say. You are doing so much damage, so therefore every fight is really tedious because you just want to get through it because it's the same enemy. It's very much like, I think they have like 6 enemies and they're repeated over and over, you know, and they don't really, I think they even grow in health. It feels like they get stronger and you don't really, unless you use the combo. It's like, it gets a bit tedious, right? I wouldn't say it's a bad game, just not for me currently with this fighting system. Solid graphics for a 2019 game, and sometimes an amazing soundtrack that kicks in during fights. It is a total, what do the cool kids say? A cat jam. Good, Daniel, very good reference. Twitch emote level. Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. So that's an oldie right there. If you're like, okay, we went from Devil May Cry 2019 and just blasted back into the past by like 30 years or something. Oh, actually, no, wait, how many years? You go 10, 20, 25 years or something. So I think most people maybe have heard about, you know, Castlevania games. But Symphony of the Night is the granddaddy of Metroidvanias. You know, Metroidvania is Metroid and Castlevania, and then they had a baby. Not literally, of course. No, actually, it's just Metroidvania is just a genre that I think just crystallized over the years, right? And Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night kind of defined what a Metroidvania is or could be. And I think everybody agreed upon that and just, you know, went with it. And they were also very popular games, right? Back in the day. Super Metroid, still very popular. Symphony of the Night, I don't think as popular, but still, like, they have a name. They will probably never be forgotten. And that's, you know, something you have to, like, tip your hat to, because how many games are forgotten nowadays, right? It is a side-scrolling action game from 1997, originally on the PlayStation 1. Originally, I can't speak. I played it on stream on an emulator, and after many hours of playing through it, as well as having to Google things, I can't recommend this game. Nope. Lots of typical Castlevania issues, like having to find certain spots in the map at a certain time to unlock paths. It's just not good game design. Not now, nor many years ago, in my opinion. Movement was very stale, minimal, and limited. Certain combos that one can do are, I think, not explained in the game. For example, Soul Steal. So if you know, Soul Steal is like an ability Alucard has where I think you use some sort of, I don't even know if it's mana, but you use something that is limited so you can't spam it. You literally steal the health of enemies, so you deal damage and heal yourself. It's amazing. I never used it in my playthrough because the game didn't tell me. Could have been helpful. In my opinion, the sequel Dawn of Sorrow on the Nintendo DS, which I played in my childhood, is just a plain upgrade to Symphony of the Night in terms of gameplay. So play that one if you can. Elder Scrolls Online. Okay, we're just jumping. What is this list that I made? We're just jumping in time right now. Bloody hell. So most of these games I actually played on stream during the year, such as this one. So here's what I briefly remember. It's a game, and I did not enjoy it. I was not intrigued enough to continue playing the game after just a few hours. As far as I remember, there was no real gear progression. I think I still had the same gear from the start after 2 hours of playing the game. That is really bad in an ARPG, in which I kind of expected that gear either drops from enemies or can be bought by some guy in the city, which I may have missed. I gotta be honest, I may have missed him. Or her, I don't know. In addition, comparing this open world game to other games, for example Horizon Zero Dawn, the world seemed too big and or too boring. It is an MMO and a huge world is normal, but I always say a huge world with nothing in it is useless and just annoying if you aren't giving some sort of ability or tool to move quickly from A to B, not including fast travel in this particular example right here, because that comes later. I can slug through an uninteresting world, I can slug through some grind, I can slug through boring, unskippable cutscenes, but I can't slug through bad and uninteresting fighting and gameplay. Let's just hope that Elder Scrolls 6, or when it comes out, they have greatly improved the fighting, and how it feels. If they didn't, or if they haven't, this game series might sink faster than I sink to the ground after one shot of tequila. So about 1 second. Seriously, I can't handle my alcohol. I'm one shot of tequila and I'm pretty sure I would be gone. Teamfight Tactics, or also called was fun to return to the game after many months and seeing how it improved. It changed up slightly and was fun to play. What? You're waiting for a but? There's no but. But these games just don't capture me anymore, and I think I know why. A game that is just 20 to 30 minutes long is fun to play, but only maybe once or twice until you realize you are not progressing towards anything. As someone who isn't into leaderboards or being the best in a PvP game, I gain nothing long-term from this game. For example, a story, different worlds or areas, characters to see, and interact with it, right? I don't get anything. There is literally nothing. I'm just on this board for 20-30 minutes, then I either lose early or win the game, which is really rare, by the way, which should actually be the fun part, but you barely win, maybe every 10th game, or maybe less, or maybe more if you're a god, I don't know. And then it's just... And you do this thing over and over again. It's like, I don't see anything new. The new part probably comes in when they, switch the characters around, and add new things. And then you're like, oh, wow, Jinx is now in the game. And whoa, they put Rammus in, and Jinx is gone, obviously. So it's like, okay, cool. But it's like, God damn. If that's the hype part of you seeing a new character in, and that's all the new things you get, is like, I get it if you're really into the game, right? Because it's new strategies and new plans you can maybe think of, and it's just, I get it, but God, that doesn't sound interesting. Anyways, moving on from this discussion to a game that I actually enjoyed, or actually a mod. Terraria Thorium Mod. Thorium Mod adds monsters, bosses, many items, and weapons to the game. It can be simply downloaded with the Team Mod loader on Steam. Overall, definitely worth playing if you want more Terraria. Just try to use the new weapons and other things instead of using the weapons you always use in a normal playthrough. This might require you to Google some things on the Thorium Mod wiki though, so... kind of sucks, but I really recommend not using the basic things like you always do. It just gets so boring because it's like you're playing a 90% of a Terraria playthrough with 10% of a mod added. It should be the other way around, right? And I'll definitely take advantage of the new things they add. Path of Exile, Expedition, and Scourge League. So now that I lost all my viewers by mentioning Path of Exile, okay, jokes aside, I have this script in front of me, you know, explaining Path of Exile and what it is and what it does, and I'm like, cool, who gives a fuck? So Expedition was a league that introduced 4 new NPCs with unique voice lines and a story. They can be found in areas, and with explosives given to you, you can like explode the ground, you know, like uncover chests, open them, get loot, but at the same time, you also uncover dangerous enemies, so you gotta kill the enemies, otherwise you can't get the chests. Well, if you're fast enough, I think you can get the chests, but it's also very risky that you die. So, you know, gotta whack the enemies and get the loot later. To not go too deep into this whole what happened in Expedition and the updates because nobody cares, the player base or the community was kind of not happy about the update because of certain changes, but now going to Scourge. Scourge was very loved because they listened very much. They changed a lot of major things like defenses, for example. Dear God, they changed defenses to be so good right now, which matter, right? It's an ARPG. It is a hardcore ARPG, so the game is above average difficulty. So having bad defenses before felt really bad. In Scourge, defenses are so much easier to handle. You're way tankier. In Scourge, you also have a lot less tedious endgame grinds, which is very important, right? They also added, on the other side, a more endgame content. So, for example, if you liked certain content that was in the game before, they were like, hey, what if we made this content that people can do and make it so difficult that people maybe can't do it? So you have to really think about strategies on how to handle this really, really difficult new content, which is just genius, right? Because that's the game. Just push the players to their absolute limit in either terms of mechanics or difficulty by designing builds, because that's the whole part of Path of Exile, designing builds and having fun with different abilities and interactions with certain things in the game to be able to do this type of crazy difficult content. So good job on them. They listened, they improved, and with this, we might get an amazing next upcoming league and also new expansion, which is going to be happening mid-January probably, and expansions expand the story and as well as the, you know, well, probably... Okay, my prediction is they're gonna change how we have played the game in the past years. I don't know how, but I feel like they really want to change things up. Also, keep in mind, Path of Exile 2 is like, I wouldn't say it's on the horizon, because it's still like 3 years away probably, but they kind of, with just one expansion a year, they need to push the story along, because Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1, story-wise, they will cross. Or they meet, you know, they have a little smoochy time. So I don't know how they're gonna do that without some major things happening. So I'm really happy to see that. Back to real games, Kappa. Merchant of the Skies. Fun game about you being a merchant and having to buy things high and selling them low. Wait, sorry, no, that was my crypto strategy. I meant you should buy low and sell high. That was it. So you do that by having a ship and traveling around the big map with lots of different islands and towns. With your earned money, you can buy islands, then get workers and passively mine stone for you. You know, you just tell them, yo, go work there. See ya in, I don't know, 10 minutes or something. And yeah, then you grab the stone and you sell it for profit. Easy. What you can also do, there are also many other things in the game. For example, you can get the workers, then buy a new ship, put the new workers in that ship, and they do the trading for you. So you don't have to manually do the trading. They do the trading for you, which is just makes your life easier. So what you gotta do is work smart, with your noggin, with your big brain, and not more. And then you make lots of cash. Unsure why, but that's the fun of the game. Just see numbers rise. Of course, there are also lots of upgrades to be done, so you will have your fun time for, I don't know, I think I played through it in 2 days, but I'm also what 1 day is? 7 hours of playing the game or something. Sonic Mania. I didn't know much about this game before buying, other than it was, well received by the community, which is somewhat rare sometimes with Sonic games, right? There were some not so good games and some, yep. After playing it on stream, I had to stop after multiple one-shot deaths. I just can't play these games that have awful controls or old controls anymore. There's just so much better stuff out there, and playing these types of games is just not enjoyable to me. Having said that, even though Super Metroid can feel bad, the more you get into it, the better it feels as you get more skilled in its quite complex movement. So I'm not saying old equals bad, like Daniel the absolute boomer here, my comment section is just Keck W boomer. So it's just this game in particular just didn't grip me. It's just some old games, they're old for a reason, right? You know what I mean? Not all old games are good or are supposed to be oh wow, these amazing games that were made many years. No, they're old. They were fun for that period of time, maybe, for a certain amount of people. Let's leave it in the past. Just my opinion. Just my opinion from Boomer. Oh, got him. N++. You probably heard about this game many years ago, maybe when you were in school or college, depending on your age. The game N came out in 2004, and N+ came out around 2008. Now we have N++ on Steam, which released in 2016. It is, like always, it's N+ or N++ or N. So you have a higher resolution, more levels as far as I know, and it's just fun. It is still difficult in some cases, but it isn't the game I'm drawn to. I can play it if I'm bored, but I can also just play other better games. You know what I mean? Nothing really draws me to it. Also, for 50 euros, it ain't cheap. There's some cheaper games out there. Or, Hollow Knight for 15 bucks. I don't know. So if you have too much money, maybe grab it on a sale, right? If you really want to relive this type of game, or this game in particular. Genshin Impact. Story. Gameplay. Story. No thank you. No. Hell no. I returned to this game on stream, and after 4 hours, I had enough. The game became so padded with dialogue that it is barely a game anymore. I will most likely not return to this game ever again, if I don't read about some major changes in terms of how they bring the story across to players. Do I need to say more? It literally, from 4 hours of streaming the game, 3 hours was, I think, literally story. About a story I don't really care much about. And you can't skip. And it doesn't seem they want you to skip the story. Because I'm pretty sure it takes some time to, record these voice lines and animate all the things, right? But it's just not my game anymore, Sad, because I really enjoyed Genshin Impact the first time I played it. I think I had 30, 40 hours into this game. And at some point I stopped because, there was no content anymore. Then I gave it a year of time, and in the meantime, apparently they massively shifted to story because maybe that's just, you know, draws in more players, right? A lot more story grabs more players' attention. They stay along longer, and by staying along in the game longer, by listening to the stories, really getting into the characters, you know, they might want to spend more money, you know, and that's a gacha game for you. That's all it is, right? Not saying the gameplay isn't fun, right? Like the fighting itself, I find it so cool, right? With the elemental things and the combinations, like, yes, I always liked things like this, where any elements can like work together. That's great. Genshin Impact just has apparently more story now than gameplay, and it's sad. Littlewood for 12.5 euros and having played 16 hours, I can say without a doubt I had a time. Would I recommend it over Stardew Valley? No. Would I recommend it over some browser farm game? Of course. You can find upgrades, rebuild the look of your town very easily by moving houses or even change the height and terrain, and can bond with other NPCs. Just at some point the grind started and upgrades faded away and it felt very, very slow, so I stopped. I had an enjoyable time, and that is all, right? We all buy games, we want to have some fun time. I had some fun time, but at some point this fun, this spark is gone, and you move on to a different game. That is pretty much this game. It sounds way more negative than it actually is, but I got a good amount of hours out of this game for the price I paid. Let's say that. Mini Motorways. At some point, fun for like 8 hours. At some point, things just fall apart, and that is the nature of this game. The game doesn't give you many tools, but enough to experiment. Therefore, if you love to try different strategies over and over, then you will have a great time. If you're like me and you're getting, you know, after like 6 hours a little bit annoyed, you start Googling things, and then you realize apparently the best way to play the game is literally not how you think you should play. I'm not gonna say more, it's just Curse of the Dead Gods. Great roguelike overall, with a variety of weapons, upgrades, passives, curses, bosses, areas, and traps. Those goddamn traps. As someone who's a god gamer, I mean, look at me. I still haven't finished this game after 6.5 hours. It feels more like 30 hours, but this game is quite intense and you have to be aware of things all the time. There are no big empty levels to traverse. There are hidden treasure rooms or just the normal path towards the next arena to fight enemies in. This game is interesting. It has some very interesting things of you're able to unlock more weapons, you know, like usual roguelikes, you start to unlock more weapons and a couple like passives, or like you have 3 passives you can activate and you can swap between them if you want to, you know, from run to run, to experiment what's the best for you. There are some fun combinations of if you go for attributes, which also in turn give you maybe more damage or more health. And some weapons work with certain attributes. So for example, a weapon might get more damage the more dexterity you have, and some get more from strength. So there's like some really nice combinations. And at the end of the day, it's a roguelike, so things are procedurally generated. So sometimes you get a really sick weapon, and sometimes you don't and have to still deal with it. So I would say it's very much based on how good you are as a player. But it also helps you out sometimes with certain other things, you know, with like weapons. Sometimes you get like a really good weapon and sometimes you don't. So it's definitely important to get better at the game, understanding the game. It's not as unfair as Spelunky as far as I remember, because it's not like 99% trust your knowledge and 1% luck like in Spelunky, I think. It's very much, it helps you out, right? So it's an easier roguelike to get into. But I think if you want an even easier roguelike, I don't know, I think maybe Risk of Rain 2 is probably even easier. But I also have like 70 hours in Risk of Rain 2, so I don't know anymore. That's it! 15 games. Very short this time, nothing, whoa, you know, major things. Just some solid games I played once here and there, and some other games that just weren't really up to par. And that's just the nature of playing video games. This video has a much more depressing ending than I thought. I don't know why. So let me be positive for a while. So Path of jokes aside, I hope you enjoyed watching the video and might check out my stream at twitch.tv/DanielBR93, where we are not playing indie games anymore. So sorry for that. We're only playing Path of Exile on Thursday and Hollow Knight currently every Sunday. So go check that out. Currently, I'm trying to get 112% in Hollow Knight. If you know what that means, yeah, it's gonna be difficult because I have never reached 112%. So get ready for 15 Sundays, just me bashing my head at P5. If you know, you know. Unsure when this video comes out, but I will definitely be streaming throughout like holiday season. Thursday and Sunday is always usually a day where I can stream, so don't worry about that. And I might throw in another stream once in a while because of certain events that are happening in Path of Exile. Also a little update to the YouTube people. By the way, hi, how you doing? You're looking cute today. Okay, I will be making more videos around first impressions of indie games. So usually what I streamed, I will be doing videos of. So, you know, so you don't miss me reacting to a game for the very first time. But they will be on the YouTube channel, which means higher quality and edited. So you don't need to watch six hours of me bashing my head at a game and being like, this game sucks. I think that's good. I feel like that's a good idea. Other than that, I might be making another video of how I liked Scourge League in Path of Exile, and maybe another video about the Game Awards, or maybe it is out already. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I totally have plans. Anyways, thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.